This is Let's Talk Business with your host, Marc Ebinger. Now, here's Marc.
Welcome back to the Let's Talk Business podcast. Coming up on the show today, we're going to talk about running a family-owned roofing company and some common myths and facts about filing roof insurance claims. And yes, I had a cold last week, so my voice is still recovering in case you fans out there are like, what? Who's that? That doesn't even sound right. In studio with us today is Andrew Johnson, the owner of Prime Seamless Gutters and Roofing here in San Antonio. Prime Seamless Gutters and Roofing is a veteran-owned company founded in 2006 and is a highly rated business with over 500 Google reviews and an overall rating of 4.9, which that seems impossible to do as a gutter and roofing company. But
Impressive.
Congratulations on that, Andrew, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm awesome to be here. This is a lot of fun. I'm excited, looking forward to this.
Yeah, you guys must have jumped on those Google reviews pretty quick back in the day because that's a lot.
It is a lot, and it's hard to do, especially in our business, because, and I guess not just this business, but just this world. It's so easy for people to point out everything you do wrong. It's hard to somebody to say, hey, give you a pat on the back, nice job. So we're pretty proud of that. It's hard to do.
We'll have to get into that a little bit more because I'm curious because you got to have a good methodology there.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
All right, I'm your host, Marc Ebinger, the CEO of Krukus Virtual Staffing, a company that recruits and staffs experienced overseas administrative assistants for insurance agents and attorneys. If you're curious about the most common tasks that VAs are doing for businesses, head over to our website at krukus.com and grab a list of the top 20 tasks that VAs are doing for businesses like yours. The link is in the podcast description.
And I'm your co-host, Jenevy Sims with the Evolve Firm, where we help business owners create marketing strategies to help evolve and elevate their brand.
And I'm Desiree Serna. I am the Principal Success Strategist at Philanthropic and Public Relations, a premier publicity and PR firm here in San Antonio. I am also the co-host here, and I'm happy to have you here, Andrew.
Awesome. I'm happy to be here, too. This is going to be fun.
Quick reminder to follow the Let's Talk Business podcast on all major podcast platforms and social media. We can catch video versions of the show. You can get to everything easily from our website at satalkradio.com. Now, we got our Mega Mixer coming up on March 27th. I'm excited about. It's going to be a Thursday from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Tickets are on sale now for just $20. It's a huge expo-style mixer with lots of networking. This is like, I created it this way because this is what I would want to go to if I'm going to go to a mixer. I don't want to waste my time. I want to have lots of people there that I don't know. I like the idea of the booths because you can walk up and just start talking to people, learn about what they're doing, just start networking that way. Everybody's changing cards. Everybody's having a good time. And then, of course, our awesome hosts are going to be there doing interviews on the red carpet. We've been doing that here for the last 3 that we've done. This will be the 4th one. Those are a big hit, too. We like to generate a lot of content for the people that are going to be out there visiting. I also like to eat snacks, and I like to drink drinks, so there's going to be plenty of those.
Or margaritas.
Yeah, right?
Margaritas.
Yeah, I think we had, 6 or something like that, margarita machines before. We're going to have plenty there this time as well. We can't have bottled beer this time, and I'm so depressed over that.
Because of the venue?
Yeah, the venue won't allow glass. We're going to have cans of beer that are going to come with koozies provided by a couple of sponsors, which is cool.
Very
That's awesome.
cool.
But I'm going to miss the bottles because bottled beer is so much, it's just high class.
It tastes
It
better.
tastes
Right.
better. It absolutely tastes better.
Especially High Life. It's the champagne of beer.
Yes, it gives a certain je ne sais quoi, as they say.
I'm a Michelob Ultra guy.
I love Ultra.
That's a
It's
good
As
so
I'm
one.
older, it's so right, exactly.
I'm going to just go on a limb and say it's actually hydrating, right? Is there any alcohol in it? I don't even know.
Very
No, there's
little.
no
You
such
can
thing.
go all night with Ultra and be just fine.
Do you watch Landman ever? I'm not sure if I'm supposed to
Yes.
plug anything.
No,
Billy
yeah.
Bob and the Ultra when he's at the bar, and he's like, he goes, give me an Ultra. He goes, I thought you were an alcoholic. He goes, if I come back and drink a bottle of whiskey, you'll see an alcoholic. There's no liquor in this Ultra or whatever. It was a pretty good line.
That was such a good show,
It's a great
dude.
show.
I'm liking you better and better, man. He's a former DJ, kid from the 80s.
Right?
No, you got style, dude. I
You're
like that.
pretty. You got Riz, as the kids say.
I got what is it?
Riz.
Riz.
See, I didn't even know what that is right now. You're
Yes.
gonna have to explain that one to me. I'm a little dated, but we'll catch up.
All right, so net proceeds from this mix are going to be going to support multiple charities here in the San Antonio area. We're all about giving back to the community. We're going to have profit from it that we got to do something with, so we might as well give it back to the community. And then we're expecting to sell out. So 300 is the goal. So pick up a ticket for you and your team, and I look forward to seeing you guys up there Now, speaking of the mixer, a quick shout out to Tito Pacheco. He's the owner of the Right Guys Plumbing Services here in San Antonio, for being a sponsor for the upcoming Mega Mixer on Thursday, March 27th. Serving San Antonio, South Texas, the Right Guys Plumbing Service offers a comprehensive range of plumbing services, including water heater replacements, water softener installations, and 24-hour emergency services. If you're seeking reliable and professional plumbing services, be sure to check them out at therightguystx.com, or you can reach them at 210-744-4397. Tito is a personal friend of mine. He's done excellent work at my house. Very, very high class. He installed a water heater and a water softener at my house, and they're both just in exceptional shape, exceptional fixtures, just exceptional high-quality work. He cares about what he's doing, so it's easy for me to recommend him. All right, Andrew, so excited to have you here. I don't know, I feel like we hit it off pretty quick here. Tell me a little bit about your background. I know you're running a family business, right? Yeah. But give me about 90 seconds of your background that led you to what you're doing now.
Oh, boy, I'll try to fit it in 90 seconds. So how I got in this business, I really just was one of those kids that just didn't know what they wanted to do, but I knew I didn't want to go to college. It just wasn't for me. I've always been a hands-on type of guy. So right out of high school, I just joined a roofing crew and learned from the ground up. So I worked that for a couple years. One of the owners of the company said, would you like to learn how to do gutters? Sent me down to Florida to do some training, learn the trade, came back, and we started a gutter division in there for that company. And that was in Minnesota. I'm from northern Minnesota originally. And then 9/11 hit and changed everybody's lives. I think that day, everybody in here probably remembers where they were and what they were doing that day. And went down to the recruiter's office the next day and enlisted into the U.S. Navy. My mother had a cow. Anyway, so ended up going to boot camp January of 2002. That was as soon as we could leave. Got out in 2006. Still was kind of that guy. I still didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew what I didn't want to do at that point. So I decided to go do a little school. Started working again. Went back into gutters just to try to make some side money. What I noticed was that there was a massive quality problem in the roofing and gutter world. There's little to no oversight in San Antonio there is a quote unquote a city license, but there's no state license. It's like the Wild West. If you want to be a roofer here, you can be. You just need a truck and a hammer. And so I saw a major quality issue. There was a lot of that going around. A lot of stuff I'd go to houses and just be like blown away because I saw the stuff that we did up in Minnesota. So I just decided to give it a go. I had two small boys at the time, and had unfortunately just got a divorce, and my ex-wife was moving out of state, and I had a choice to stay here and give this a go, or try to follow her around and have a 9-to-5, and if I could make ends meet wherever it is she decided to move. So thank God I stayed. We got Prime off the ground. I started out of a one-bedroom apartment with me and a helper. And we've grown to where we are today with 40, 50 employees. We have a metal shop. We do gutters. We do roofing. We do new construction. We do re-roofing. Pretty much anything from the roof line above, we do it. And really, like I said, the biggest reason we're doing it is just because there was such an issue with just really quality control and just people being taken for a ride and and unfortunately you hear about it a lot still. People take deposits and skip town or whatever, and I just it just didn't sit well with me. So that's kind of how we got here.
Talk about your structure. So you said you have 40 some employees or whatever. Are they W-2s, 1099s? How does it work?
Both, actually. Yeah. So our full office staff is all W-2 employees. All of our gutter teams are all direct employees. My roofing project managers are all direct employees. We do have some W-2, especially because this business kind of ebbs and flows sometimes. If we get hail, like for our new construction side, when our interest rates went high, housing really dropped off a lot. So, we had this bucket of work, and then all of a sudden, when the hopper, when that all got done, then there was not a lot on the backside of that. So we do use some sub crews once in a while, but sub crews I think have a bad connotation. When you hear about, this guy subbed somebody out, they think that you just drove by Home Depot and picked up some guys you don't even know who they are. And that's not always the case. It can be. But our guys have been with us for a long time. We vet them. We treat them as employees. Basically, we hold them to just the same standard as anybody else would be. So to answer that was a long-winded answer, but yes, some both. Yeah, some W-2, some 1099, some W-2.
Why did you go that route instead of just running sub crews?
Because the same thing, again, it ebbs and flows. So where we have more consistent work that just seems to be, or more retail work, I guess you could say, like gutters, that's something that just seems to be, the pipeline is always full, right? There's consistent work there. On the roofing side of things, like I said, if we get a massive hailstorm or something, that will divert all of the labor pool, to the low-hanging fruit, and then it'll leave the new construction market, grasping at straws, trying to find labor, to come and do those homes. So if you have sub crews, you can kind of maneuver and you can bring people in as you need them, or keep divert crews to different. Like I'll have sub crews that are new construction roofers, but they'll also do re-roof work if it's if the need arises. So it's just a little bit easier to move your chess pieces on the board and to have a successful business, because if everybody's W-2, you might not have work for a day here and a day there, or 2 days here and 2 days there. It's just a lot more difficult to manage that if they're on a W-2.
And my last question on my run here is, what's your primary job at the company?
Well, I wear about every hat. It depends. I sometimes I still put a tool belt on and we'll go do installs with guys if we have something on a job that's under the gun, or I try to accommodate, especially our home builders that we work for. Sometimes they're busy. They make mistakes. Sometimes Andrew, gosh, we're closed on this house Monday, man. We got to get the gutters on. And it's Saturday, so we'll go with the guys and we'll do it Saturday. Now, I don't do that every day, but I mean, I do everything from still installing, HR stuff, ordering materials, outside sales, relationship management. I answer phones. I take estimates. It just depends on where I'm needed. I would like to say that I sit in my ivory tower and drink coffee, but that doesn't happen. Yeah, I'm still in the trenches, and I prefer to be there. I don't think that you can run a successful business without having your finger on the pulse of everything that's going on. I don't hear every single thing anymore, but I know what's going on in the business, and if there's morale's taking a hit, or I'm very aware of what's going on, and you have to be. You have to know, especially with your management team. You have to know what's going on with them. You have to be visible. You have to have an open door. You have to be able to talk to your team.
I think that's really awesome that you have a good diversity of both your 1099 and W-2s, just because in this industry you see it a lot where, homeowners are expecting, if they're calling you, to have your company take care of them. And then when you have somebody else and they find out, this is just a subcontractor,
right,
the accountability, kind of
right,
gets lost in that mix. So.
And it absolutely can be, and it does.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it. I've hired people to do work on my house, and I have an expectation that somebody's going to show up representing this company, and they
right,
send out somebody else completely different, and I'm like, who are these guys?
Mm-hmm.
So those are the issues when subcontracting can be in the gray area and be a little bit of I don't know what the right word is, but not favored,
Yeah.
But if your guys are your guys, at the end of the day, if they're a subcontractor or if they're an employee, but they work for you day in, day out, it's kind of a technicality there. The subcontracting part to me that makes it bad is that, like I said, when it's once a month, or you want me to fix that? I can do that. And then the guy goes and just gets on Facebook, hey, is there an electrician in the group? And then they just send somebody over there. They don't even know, they haven't vetted them. That's a whole different story. To me, I don't know if I can use this word on here, but it's kind of labor pimping is what we call it, and that's not what we do. We won't send anybody on a project unless we know them, and they wear all our shirt. I mean, we put our stamp of approval on everybody we send to them, and we background check them too. We don't just we treat it's just like it would be a regular employee showing up. It's just, are they paid with taxes out of the check or not? That's really the only difference. So.
Well, you said something really interesting that I wanted to kind of shift gears on. You had mentioned, hey, with gutters, the pipeline's always full.
Right.
When did Prime realize, hey, let's shift over. We have this other opportunity to shift over as roofing experts?
So that's a great question. I originally didn't want to. When I first got off active duty, it was again, I'm from northern Minnesota, and it's hot here, and I was like, oh man, I really don't want to roof anymore. It's so hot, so I'll stick with just the gutter side of things. And so when I started the company, all I really, and this was in late 05, 06 when I started it. So all my marketing I did to begin with, all of our SEO, SEM type stuff, pay per click, anything that we started was only geared toward gutters. And that's probably one of my biggest regrets was not doing it, because I didn't understand how that worked at the time, and we can get into that if you guys want to a little. So when did I realize it was not, there was an opportunity there? So I'm doing gutters for people, and I'll notice something wrong with the roof, and I'll just, hey, I just want to let you know you got a missing shingle here, or hey, your flashing looks a little wonky here, and then, well, hey, can you fix it? Well, yeah, and so it just kind of found me, it just kind of, the snowball started rolling down the hill a little bit. And then the neighbor tells his neighbor, oh, Andrew can, if you got a little issue with your roof, give Andrew a call. So in 2008, we incorporated. And so from 2006 to 2008, I saw in the window, there's like, yeah, we should probably, roof. I was originally a roofer and then gutters originally. So I was like, okay, so I probably should just incorporate roofing. The issue is that in those short 2 years, we got so known for gutters so fast. And so our name is Prime Seamless Gutters and Roofing, but people stop at the gutters for some reason. You do roofing too? I'm like, yeah, we definitely do. So since then, going back to that original, those couple years of doing SEO and SEM and everything with just gutters, we're 2 years behind still to this date with like keyword search. So if somebody searches gutters San Antonio, boom, 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 we're there. Somebody searched roofer San Antonio, we're still 2 years behind that curve in our marketing and our SEO and SEM stuff. And it's a much more competitive market with Google and Bing and Yahoo to get ranked with those keywords as well. Like I said, when we started, it's kind of the Wild West with roofing. If you want to be a roofer here, you just need a truck and a hammer. Well, in the gutter world, you need a lot of specialized equipment. You need a roll former, which it's really expensive to invest in. So a lot of guys don't want to make that investment to buy a roll former. So gutters is more of a niche market. It's not just you don't just walk into gutters and do it. You have to make a significant investment to do it. So that's part of the other reason why it's a lot less competitive of a market to advertise in. For example, for us to get a lead, with all of our, we take our pool of gutter leads at the end of the year, and we take how much money did we invest in just gutters, and our capture rate for our clientele to get your name, to get your address, to get your phone number is about $45 is what it costs us. Now a roofing lead is about $245. Oh, wow. So it's a way higher, way more competitive market to get your name out there in front of people with roofing. So, but I hope that answers the question. I think I got a little sideways with that one. But.
No, I love the information because, again, we were talking about things like your Google reviews. That's impressive to have 500 reviews, to have such a positive reaction from your consumers. That must have taken a lot of work, and it seems like you're super knowledgeable on the metrics of how much it's costing you and what the rate of return is on that.
So you have to know that, because if you don't know that, you're just throwing money down a well and you're hoping something comes up in the bucket, and you don't know, So but the key is you do have to make an initial investment, and you have to have some data. So it might take a year, 2 years, 3 years, which is a scary thing to do, because in theory, you kind of are throwing some money down the well at first, but you have to know what comes up. So it's very important to track those numbers as well. Where are the leads coming from? And there's also a point where you saturate that. Like you can, let's say you put $10,000 into marketing here, and it gives you 100 leads. Well, you can put 15,000 in, but you still only get 100 leads. So you got to kind of find that. It's like how much water does a sponge hold? You know what I mean?
The optimization.
Yes. Exactly.
Well, we were talking about AI a little bit before the show started, and you mentioned SEO. So right now, if you use AI to write your content on your website, Google Gemini doesn't like that. So it actually puts you down lower on the SEO search. And so now there's new research and there's new things coming out, and it's going to be replacing SEO, which is AEO and GEO. So AEO is answer engine optimization, and then generative engine optimization. So those two things are going to be the newest tactics when it comes to marketing to replace
That's good
SEO.
to know. I didn't even know that, so I'm learning something new today too.
Yeah, that answer engine optimization, because people are, it's like I've kind of done it myself already, but teaching my wife, it's like instead of going to Google and saying, you know, what time is a movie start or whatever the question is, you go to the Chat GPT and ask it, and you get exactly the response. You don't have to go to a website. You don't have to do this. It just feeds
Really?
it. So this is where, you know, somebody's like, well, give me the top 5 roofing companies in San Antonio.
And they'll go to Chat GPT for that?
Well, that's where I would go.
Wow.
That's only
It's
one
a
of the
new
few
way to
AIs.
search.
Yes.
So then I would get, well, these are the ones based on, and I could tell it, look, give me the top 5 roofing companies in San Antonio based on their Google reviews and their longevity in the area. I want to make sure that they're local companies. Whatever the criteria is, you just have to be specific, and then it'll give it to you. Now, can it prioritize that information based on optimization, I mean, money, basically?
Sure.
Yeah, it can.
Wow.
So I think that's the direction that it's going to be going.
So people stop maybe going to the Google search engine. They'll go straight to these websites, and then those websites fish the internet for
screen it.
the right information that you're looking for,
Absolutely.
basically.
Yeah, and
That's
I think
incredible.
like Google's using Gemini, so it's incorporating that into the searches now. So it's going to be like it's going to happen whether people want it to or
Right.
not. It's just I like to go to ChatGPT to just get my information because it's it's precise, and I don't have to click on anything and go, well, this site doesn't have it. They were just well optimized and wasted my time.
So it's almost like you just have a person that's sitting there doing your
Your
research for you.
Your
Well, yeah,
screening.
and that's my world too, is administrative assistants, right? Low cost labor out of the Philippines and Latin America combined with AI is the thing. When you combine humans with AI, you've got a different ballgame because especially low cost labor.
Right. So probably it's curveball, but my concern with all of this stuff, you know, and this actually just even goes back to like my kids in high school, or they're not in high school anymore, they're graduated, but they weren't offering cursive handwriting in school for a short time. So I kind of correlate that with this Chat GPT. Like my wife, when we need an email written, she'll have Chat GPT write the email. Is it going to make us dumber? You know, are we going to lose our ability to even format a sentence properly and use
Well, I
punctuation?
think it shifts.
You know?
So I think
Yes.
if we learn how to ask questions and give directions,
Right.
and we leave all of the minutia. Like, look, I'm 55, and I don't enjoy doing. I mean, I could craft letters and memos, and I've done all of that. I was
Yeah.
really good at it, but I don't want to have to do that stuff no more.
No.
I understand it. It's almost going to be just like a lost art, though. You know, I remember when I was little, my grandmother would read letters to me that I don't remember who. My grandfather probably wrote them, but just the penmanship, you know,
Oh,
and
so much
it's
pride
just
in
cool. You know,
penmanship.
it's just going to be, but it's just a thing of the past, and it's not going to be. You know, to me, it's a little sad. I don't want to. You know, I don't want us to be just these robots, or well, we won't be the robots, but just these people that just don't know anything, don't have any ability to fend for yourself if you ever, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's just kind of.
Well, at the end of the day, humans are going to have to create value in order to create a living for themselves. So that's going to be the interesting part: is what are you going to do to create value,
Yeah.
so that you can enjoy life, and then you can spend your time doing whatever you want. But if you think you're just going to do something that AI can do,
Yeah, yes,
it's a different ball game.
Yeah, it's changing. We talked. Yeah, so we talked about that on the way in here, that the job market's going to change a lot. AI is changing things a lot. Like I hate to say it, like Jennifer is my office manager and Geraldine's our assistant, and those jobs could go away in the next few years. It's kind of scary to think what it's going to do to the world, you know. And you're going to kind of have to adapt, because if you lose that overhead, then other people can even lower their pricing, you know, and you might,
Or they can
price
spend it
yourself
on
out.
trades, right?
You're right, exactly.
They can take that money and go. So I'm in that business too. So for a full-time employee, for me, the same skill level is about $18,000 a year compared to about $40,000 to $60,000 for a U.S.-based employee that can
Wow.
that's doing work that can be done remotely.
Yeah.
Well, what do you want to spend that money on? I mean, do you want to spend an extra $40,000 a year on something, or do you want that to go to something else? So those are just decisions. But if you have an office, well, you need somebody to be that smiling person who's that. People still want that. So
I don't think
there's
that.
always gonna be
I don't
those.
think that's ever going to go away. People are always going to want to have human to human contact.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. Kind of going back to what you were saying, about the Google reviews and everything. A lot of that comes from, having good employees like Jennifer and Geraldine that I just mentioned as well. To me, I'm a little more old school. I don't know if I'm not. You're not going to get fired, by the way, if you're listening. I'm not going to let people go over the. It's going to be the last resort for me. It would be complete last resort because all those Google reviews. If you go to our site and you read those Google reviews, they mention people's names.
Yes.
Right. They mention our installers' names. They mention the people they talk to on the phone. That you don't see very often. You might see a review from other companies where it's like, yeah, great job, product, service is great, 5 stars. But people take the time with us to list our employees by name, and that's becoming it's organic. Like it's just, I don't know if other people are reading our reviews and then they're just, I don't know exactly how that's happening.
Ask, what's your methodology there? Do you have a follow-up system that says?
Yes. Yeah, we do have a follow-up system, but it's not, this is a template for you, please use this. What we do is we just ask if you've had a good experience. Would you be kind enough to leave us a review here or there? Google or Facebook or wherever. Some do, some don't. So there's still a lot of people that don't. So having 500 is fantastic. But if I could get everybody to do it, it'd be amazing because we touch a lot of homes every week. But I think that the reason why we get those reviews is when we go to a house, for example, I want all of my teams to leave the house better than they found it. Now, do mistakes happen? Of course they do. But for example, this Christmas, one of my installers, his name is George, he went there to do some gutters, and he hung this lady's Christmas lights for her. And he did not have to do that. She was elderly, and he saw from the story that I was told, that he saw the box of Christmas lights, and he just went the extra mile and did them. Now, he spent a couple extra hours on the job site, and now some owners would be like, "Oh, you didn't need to do that. That's somebody else's job. You just cost me a couple extra hours of payroll." To me, that paid dividends. That's totally worth it. And if we go to a house, and I'm not saying that we're going to hang Christmas lights on every single house we're at, but one time it was one of the teams took their trash out for him, or just little stuff. Their dog got out. They helped find a dog one time. Our teams are they're not just about hanging and banging, get out of there, make your money, and leave. They truly care about the people they're working for, and and they all know our names. And I think that's really important to do. We don't wear name tags, but they have that interaction with them. They get to the job site, they introduce themselves, say, "We're here to help you today," and they go over the job. And when the job is done, they go over it again and make sure that everything is right. And I think that's probably the biggest reason why we have the reviews we have.
Well, trust has a lot to do with any type of what am I trying to say? Anything that you're doing with your home. You really have to trust someone if they're going to be doing work to your home. That's one of our greatest assets that many have, is our home.
Right.
And so tell us some things that are maybe like facts and myths about roofing, because there's a lot. Again, we need to trust. We need to know. We need to be educated on the process. So tell us a couple of myths.
Well, where do we start with that? That's there's a lot. One of the one that comes to mind is licensing and bonding. That's a real thing. But again, licensing in Texas, there is no roofing license in Texas. Okay. Now, there are some licenses for like San Antonio as a municipality. Converse has its own license. Windcrest has its own license. But those are all individual little. Shirts has another one. But there's no testing.
There's no regulatory agency over roofing.
Not statewide, not the
Right.
state level. Now there's an organization called RCAD, Roofing Contractors Association of Texas. Now they kind of are dabbling in it a little bit. There is some licensing you can get from them, but as far as the state is concerned, there's nothing. So a myth is you have to have somebody that's licensed, because there isn't one. You know, and then if you're outside like Timberwood Park, or you're up in the hill country like Blanco, or down south Floresville, somewhere in there, there's nothing. There's no permit to pull. There's no inspection. There's no nothing. So going back to what you're saying about trust, there's no eyes on this. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
There's no eyes on this. You got to trust somebody. So how do you trust somebody? Well, what do you have? You have Google. You have, or you have a guy's handshake is really what you got right now with this. Now, not to get political, but I'm not a real advocate for a ton of regulation, a ton of red tape, but I'm for a little bit here,
For sure.
just to kind of keep some people honest. I think regulations go too far, but to have a little, just to level the playing field a little bit and just to kind of protect people, make sure people are insured. Insurance going back to MIS, insurance is probably the one you really need, but licensing and bonding, a lot of people don't even know what that means. They hear it from somebody. Make sure you get somebody licensed and bonded. What's a bond? Does anybody, what does that even mean? Nobody even knows what it means. They just hear it and they regurgitate it. But make sure you do have somebody insured. That's the most important part. Yeah.
If folks are looking to find a roofing company, where should they be looking? How can they easily find reputable companies?
So that's a good question. You can always go to like the manufacturers' sites. Like I call them the big three because they're kind of like Ford, Dodge, and Chevy. But Certainteed is our main manufacturer. Owens Corning and GAF. Those are kind of the big three. Now there's others. There's Atlas. There's Tamco. There's Malarkey. I don't know how they named it Malarkey, but they did.
I was just going to say, is that for real?
That's a name of a shingle, believe it or not. It's called Malarkey. No, they're fine. I'm not here to bash anybody, but I think the marketing team probably could have picked a better word for that. Mm-hmm. So you can go directly to those sites, and if you're vetted by them, which we are, there's different structures that you can do. Like for again, Certainteed, you have what are called shingle master companies and select shingle master companies. So a select shingle master is the higher one. The entry-level certification is just Shingle Master. So you can always go to these sites, and you can put in your zip code, and it'll put who all of these companies are that are accredited through the manufacturer nationwide. And you don't just, fill out an application and get that. They have to come, and they do random inspections on you. The manufacturers do. They make sure you're insured. There's training manuals that we do every year, and if there's any changes to the training manuals, then we have to retrain. Pre-COVID, we would do field trips, I guess you could say, to the plants, and you see how the shingles are actually made. There's another certification that's called the Shingle Quality Specialist, where you have to take some more testing on the life cycle of the product. So when you're sitting there in front of a homeowner, and there's, because they all have a decomposition, they're only going to last so long. They all have a shelf life, right? Mm-hmm. So in 5 years from now, if the shingle starts curling a little bit, well, that's normal, and this is why it's normal. It's the life cycle of the shingle, and you can explain those to people. So where do you want to go? I would probably say a manufacturer's website. Figure out what kind of manufacturer that you want to use and why you'd want to use them. Start with your own research. Personally, I like Certainteed products. They're heavier. They actually last the lifespan that they claim. And then if there is ever an issue, they do and stand behind their warranty as well. So you can always start there. That's probably the best place to start. And then obviously, there's a lot of stuff on just online or ChatGPT, like you're saying. You could put your people together, but you go right to the horse's mouth with when you go to the manufacturer's website, because they're not going to give their stamp of approval and tarnish their reputation if they got some chuck in a truck, doing lousy work. So when they stand behind you, then you're pretty safe.
Where do you verify that they're insured? Is there a way to do that with a roofing company?
You can just ask.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but they could just say yes.
Well, so they can say yes, but if you want to take it a step further, ask for a certificate of their insurance, right? Okay. And it'll have the policy number and the claim number and the effective dates. And if you want to take it even a step further, call and verify. Is this policy still valid? And then if it's not, then they're just lying to you, and it's time to move on to somebody else.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned RAD. What was RAD?
RCAT.
Or RCAT.
Yeah, RCAT. Yeah, Roofing Contractors Association of Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's statewide. And they have their own regulations as far as...
Yes, so they're kind of I don't want to say a club, but they're a group of professional roofing organizations, and you have to meet certain criteria to be a part of that. that group. Yeah.
So it's not a membership, like you have to also be a part of it.
It is a
as
membership,
well.
but you have to meet certain guidelines.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Now, if I can shift gears a bit, I live in a historic neighborhood. So there are a lot of different, I guess you could say, roofing options.
Yeah.
I'm hearing a lot about shingles, but in our neighborhood, there's clay, it seems like or clay tiles.
Yep.
There are a lot of metal roofs, beautiful, as a matter of fact, metal roofs. So could you tell me a little bit with
Sure.
your expertise about the various different roofing options that people might have?
Well, the word that really pinged me there was historic district, and that's always difficult waters to navigate. Historic district has certain guidelines and certain permitting there. So within San Antonio, even though, like I was saying, there isn't no state regulation, historic district is probably one of those that is one of the more difficult ones to work in.
They're more regulated.
They're more
definitely.
regulated because they want to keep the historic look. But different types of roofs, yes. So metal is obviously probably the more predominant roof type that's in the historic district, and the reason for that is because of the German influence that's here. Standing seam metal roofing is a German influence. That's where it came from. If you go up to Green in New Braunfels, most of those roofs are all the old standing seam. And there's some older techniques that the Germans used to use that we can still do today, but it's definitely an old school technique. We were talking a little bit about writing letters and penmanship, and that's so some of that old techniques are kind of outdated. But in those districts, you have to do those. So even the crazy thing is the metal roofing. All of our machinery that we own, the stuff that bends our metal and the roll formers, all that stuff is from Poland and Germany still.
Oh.
All that machinery is still fabricated and manufactured in Germany and Poland. So which is just kind of a cool little side note. Some of the other roofs down there, like you said, about clay tile and Spanish tile or barrel tiles, those are still there too. But those older clays, you can get those still, but they're not the same anymore. A lot of the stuff now is moved to concrete. It's more it's a little bit more cost effective. You can still get clay. Don't get me wrong. I didn't. That's not what I was implying. But just you won't be able to necessarily match those old ones. Like for repairs and stuff,
Right.
You won't be able to match that stuff. But there's definitely a lot of older type roof types down there that you don't necessarily see. Just in new neighborhoods.
And does
like
Prime work with those type of roofs as well?
Yes, it's just we don't get a lot. More of our market is the new construction in the re-roofing
Section
side, not so much on the repair side. Being that those neighborhoods are so established, and Prime started in 2006, there's a lot of these older companies that have been here. I don't really want to name drop them, but they knew who they are. They've just been here longer than we have, and so they have like Alamo Heights. There's almost like a cult group that people. It kind of goes with like trust. What Mark was saying, it's just people. They've all been vetted, and these people that live in these neighborhoods, they know who they trust, and so those little niche markets kind of have their own little groups of contractors that I have found that they use for sure.
Got it.
So it's not that we don't. It's just something that it doesn't just come up every day, for us for sure. We have definitely done them. We did one in New Braunfels where the home was, like 130 years old, and the homeowner she had leaks, but she wanted to save the roof, and which was a challenge because we had to dismantle the roof and label all of the panels like a puzzle and put them back on in the same spot. Now, that was not an easy task to do. It was very time-consuming. It's not something that we're really, we're kind of set up to, like I said, the new construction, home builder market, re-roofing, retail roofs. The roof is just old. So doing something like that, it was almost like that movie or that show, that barn or the log cabin builders. They'll dismantle log homes
projects.
and move them. Yeah, it was a very highly specialized project. So, again, it's not that we don't do them. It's just not something we do every day. But totally capable of doing it, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, what are some of the trends and innovations that you're seeing right now in your industry?
Trends and innovations, one of the biggest trends that I've seen is homeowners insurance is going through the roof. So homeowners are trying to find ways to minimize costs with their insurance. So impact-resistant roofing is getting really, really popular. It costs a little bit more on the front end, but you also get discounts on your homeowner's premium. So it doesn't take long for it to pay for itself. That little investment to pay for a little higher end product. It literally 2 to 3 years you pay for itself in your homeowner's premiums.
I can understand why it would be required for you to have some kind of roofing insurance, because with all the hailstorms coming through, I mean, you could replace your roof every couple of years.
You can, especially in like Dallas, up in that area. Yeah. I mean, they're replacing their roofs all the time.
It's crazy. It's irresponsible to not take some kind of proactive action to help prevent another claim from coming.
Well, insurance companies they know that, and we're starting to see more and more hail. I don't know if y'all remember the hailstorm in 2016, that massive storm, and it hit twice. It went north to south. It went from Helotes, like west to east the first night, and then 2 nights later it went south to north, and it pretty much hit the entire city. That was kind of a turning point that we noticed with insurance companies. Deductibles are starting to get really high, and coverages are starting to get low. So what that does is it's minimizing their exposure and what their responsibility to pay. When I first started roofing, you could get a policy for a deductible for $500. That ship sailed a long time ago. You know
what?
Deductibles now are typically a minimum 1% of the value of the home. So if you're in a $500,000 home, you have a $5,000 deductible. That's a huge amount of money. And I have seen deductibles higher than that. I've seen 2%, even 3%. We had a guy, I can't remember what street it was on, but it was this last hailstorm that we had in April of 24, and his deductible was $22,000. His roof was only $23,000. So the insurance company wrote him a check for $1,000. So what's the point of insurance at this point? You know what I mean? It's to check the box for the bank. It's like your financer. It's like liability insurance for your car. There's no coverage for you.
There's always, in my mind, been 2 reasons for homeowners insurance. Number one is fire. It's an unpredictable thing that can happen anytime. It can be electrical. It could be, who knows?
Lightning.
Right? It could be the next door neighbor's house.
Sure.
Burns your house down. And then, of course, the other one is roofing issues. You've got some kind of major storm come through. You need to handle the roofing. So, if roofing is pretty much a non-starter at this point, you just have fire insurance.
It's going that way. There are still ways to help. There are tactics. One thing that's really important in this, and we talked about kind of leveling the playing field a little bit, because roofing is so non-regulated. In 2019, Greg Abbott in the Texas House signed a bill. It's called House Bill 2102. And what they did is they put a bill into place where it makes it illegal and criminal to waive deductibles of any form now. You can actually, it's crazy. And a lot of people don't know that, because back in the day, it was, let me put a sign in your yard for some advertising, and I'll eat your deductible for you, right? And that was also when it's $500 or $1,000. When you have a 1% deductible, pretty hard to do. But there are people still doing that. They're taking a huge deductible, and they're just doing work for basically little to nothing. They're if you got a $15,000 roof and you're shaving off $5,000 of it, well, where's that coming from? Where are you cutting a $5,000 cost? Are you reusing some material? Are you not even putting the same material back on? Because that $5,000 is getting cut from somewhere. Right. You know what I mean?
Or you got they're inflating stuff.
Well, yes and no, and that's kind of what I was going to talk about too. Is the insurance companies are also underpaying things, and I don't want a big war with my friends in the insurance world here, but again, they're raising deductibles and minimizing coverage. An example of that would be my mother-in-law. She lives up in Lantana Crossing, up in Spring Branch. She got some hail damage, and they're putting in different clauses. So she had what was called named storm coverage. Okay, what's a named storm? It's a hurricane. So do hurricanes produce hail? No, they don't. Do hailstorms have hurricanes with them? No, they don't. So she had hail damage, but the insurance company wouldn't cover the hail damage because it wasn't a named storm, right?
Wow.
So they're doing, and this is just one example of many that are going on out there. So what we do is we try to educate our clients. Like my mother-in-law, I got her a new policy. I sat with her agent, made sure they didn't put in all these stipulations. She's not elderly, but she doesn't have $25,000, $30,000 to be thrown around every couple years if we get a hailstorm. So we got her a good policy with a reasonable deductible. so we do that a lot with our clients as well. Make sure we're their advocates. A lot of people, the insurance companies will say, you're in good hands with Allstate, or Nationwide is on your side. No, you're not in good hands with Allstate. Nationwide is not on your side. They want to keep their money,
Ultimately,
people. They want to keep their money, and I understand it's a business. They want to keep their money. But at the end of the day, the insurance company's duty is to put you whole as you were pre-storm. So that's where we come in. And the insurance companies do a really good job of pinning the contractor against the carrier. All right, the carrier has all the credibility. They're the ones who run the commercials, right? And then you got people on the news all the time. Well, this contractor took Susie's deposit and skipped town. So there's a lot of negative coverage for roofers, and there's a lot of positive coverage for carriers. So you can see the battle that can cause. Mm-hmm. So going into the kind of circle back to your question when you said about myths. Mm-hmm. One of the myths is you have to get 3 estimates. My insurance company said I have to get 3 estimates for this. That's a myth. You do not have to get 3 estimates. What you have to do is find somebody that, again, what Mark was saying, how do I find somebody? Find somebody that knows this process, because there's sharks in the water, and you need somebody that knows how to navigate this process. So what we do is, I've been doing this 20-some years now. We know the insurance process, and we know where the pitfalls are. We know going into this that your adjuster is going to say your contractor is wrong, or your contractor doesn't need this. When we submit an estimate to try to get the claim approved or whatever, they don't need that, or they don't need this. Well, he's not a roofer. He doesn't know what we need. You know what I mean? He doesn't know what's underneath those shingles. Have you ever walked a 10, 12 pitch without scaffolding or without, a harness? Well, those things take time, and we all know time is money. So there's a lot of that back and forth that the homeowner can go at that alone, and try to fight that battle. But it's like going to court without an attorney.
Yes.
There's a reason you have an attorney when you go to court, because they know the law, right? Now, we're not attorneys, but we know the tricks. We know the schemes, and trust me, they're there. And they will exploit you at every corner, because they're looking out for their shareholders and their dividends and their bottom line. So having a good person or a good company that knows that, it will put you leaps and bounds ahead and financially ahead, because and the reason you want to do that is because, again, if you have a $15,000 claim, right, and you don't know or if your contractor doesn't know or is unfamiliar with how to supplement, that's another word. Yes. It's a supplement is basically in addition to, right? So if their first estimate from the insurance was $15,000. Well, let's say we get the initial roof off, and there's bad wood everywhere, or there's 2 layers of shingles,
right,
or these shingles have asbestos in them. We have to dump them in a certain facility. That all costs money. So if you don't have somebody that knows how to bill additionally for that, the homeowner is going to be stuck with not just their $5,000 deductible, but all the additional numbers on top of it, right? And the contractor is going to be standing there with this handout at the end of the job. Well, you owe me that, right? And yeah, realistically they do, but why not hire somebody that knows how to get that paid for from the insurance, so you don't have to pay for that?
Well, as a homeowner, should we be looking at, we'll stick to roofing because it's your area, but the relationship with insurance is adversarial?
How do you mean?
Well, to your point you made earlier, that when you file a claim, they're looking out for their shareholders.
Right.
The thing is that we're the client, right? We're paying them money.
Right. You're paying your
quite
premiums.
a bit of money.
Right. Yeah.
Right. In the hopes that if something happens, they're going to help make us whole again, right?
Right.
I mean, that's the job. But it turns into this adversarial process because they actually don't care about us, the client. They care about, to your point, the shareholders and their own bottom line. So in my mind, it's adversarial process. So in this case, the roofing company may or may not be your attorney, but is there other options available that people should be looking at? Because, you don't want to be taken advantage of.
Right. So that's a fantastic question. Yes, it is very adversarial. And I want to be really clear, too. I'm not saying that this is a blanket statement against all insurance companies. I really don't want to do that, because there are good people out there.
But structurally speaking, it's accurate.
Structurally speaking, it is accurate.
Because they are servicing their bosses, their shareholders, their whatevers, right?
Correct.
And
Yeah.
they're paying these NFL Super Bowl commercials that are going for
They
millions.
cost a lot of money.
Yeah,
to-
they are. They're
yes,
not
it's
cheap, right?
They cost a lot
That
of
money comes from homeowners.
It absolutely does.
So picture adjusters are the ones that, to me, you have to learn how to speak their language. And
Correct, 100%.
Prime is one of those, to me, when you get a professional roofing company in on an insurance claim, they know how to speak adjuster language.
Yeah, and I don't want to forget what you said because that's a really good question. But when you have the adjuster come out, you always want your roofer there.
Mm-hmm.
Or in it. And I'll take it a step further. At that point, we're not roofers; we're advocates,
Yes.
right? Because I'll have clients tell me that, oh no, I got a roofer. We're good. We already have a roofer. It's like, well, that's good because you need one, but you don't need a roofer yet. You need an advocate right now. You need an insurance claims expert. Right now, you will need a roofer. I'll bring the guys with the hammers and the nails here in a little bit, but you need me with a pen and paper right now. We need to get this right for you. So going to what Mark was saying about being an adversarial relationship, the other thing that kind of refresh me what you kind of asked again, just about the insurance
Well,
company.
in my mind, I'm thinking, well, we need an advocate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's just recognize first that it's an adversarial situation.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be adult about it, right? Because that's what it is. They have their agenda, and we're not the highest priority. I mean, it may be we're the feel-good priority, and they'd like to accommodate us.
Right.
But they got their own stuff they're worried at. They're looking out for. And if they're going to do this stuff like you mentioned, it's not a named storm, that's going to hurt some people right there.
It is going to hurt a lot of people, and again, there's lots of other little ones too. Like there's code upgrade coverage. Most policies have code because some roofs are 20, 30 years old. Codes have changed. The IRC code is what they go off of, the International Residential Code Book. So if those codes change, well, we have to build that roof to the right code. Again, we're really supposed to, right? Because there's no permitting again. But to do it right, you have to build it to code. So some of these policies just say, well, we don't cover code upgrade coverage. It's like, well, who pays for that then? Why do they get a downgraded roof because you don't pay for code upgrade coverage? So one of the other things that they can do, Mark, is if you have a company like us that has had the time in the market and built relationships and networked with the right people, we have a ton of, I shouldn't say a ton, we have two really, but I know a ton, that are called PAs or public adjusters or private adjusters. Mm-hmm. And those guys they're a licensed insurance adjuster, just like the guy that works for any carrier that shows up at your house, but he works for you, right? He has your best interest at heart. He's not looking out for the insurance company's bottom line. He's looking out for your interest. So again, they're not attorneys, but they are there to advocate for you, and that we partner with them. Like a lot of times we'll get into a claim where the adjuster's like, that's not hail damage, or that's not hail damage, we're denying this claim. And we go as far as we can go because there is a conflict of interest. We can't have a PA on staff with us. It has to be independent because it muddies the water. It's a conflict of interest. Mm-hmm. So we partner with these people, and then once we tag, you take the claim from here, then they go to work, and then once they get the claim approved, then we jump back in and start the roof process from there. But sometimes you have to have that second level.
How do they get paid, PAs?
So PAs get paid a percentage of the claim. So it's a rolling scale. So
From who?
Of the claim itself. So and this is why you want to have somebody partnered with these PAs, because what we do is we cover the PA fees for you if you use our PA. Okay. Right? Now, some people don't do that. They'll charge, so they'll pay their deductible and the PA fees, which are usually 10% of the claim is how they get paid. So it can be significant, So if you have with our claim, shout out to Palco Claims, go Shane. We'll cover their fees for them. Wow. Now, there's also some more steps in the process as well. If the PA can't get the claim approved, then we can do what's called invoking appraisal. And a lot of people don't even know that's a thing. And you have the right to do that. But the problem is with invoking appraisal is you have one swing. You know what I mean? You either hit a home run or you strike out. So when you invoke appraisal, the PA is usually involved with invoking appraisal. We can do it, but it's better to have the PA do it. So the PA will write his estimate for invoking appraisal, and the insurance claim will take their stance, whether they want repairs or an all-out denial, right? Or even if it's underpaid, because sometimes they'll just underpay it. Like if it's a $40,000 roof, they'll say, here's 20. Where they come up with those numbers is beyond me sometimes. But so when you invoke appraisal, you got your guys on the each side of the ball field, and then you have an umpire. That's his literal term. You hire an umpire, and the umpire does his inspection, and he's completely third party to the third parties. And then his whatever he says, that's it. Whether he's in agreement with us or in agreement with them. So appraisal usually works out for us because we know what we're doing. We know what hail damage is and how it's caused, but it can go the other way. It doesn't happen very often. So appraisal is an option, but it's not always the best option. And then the final option would be just hiring an attorney in general. James Whitley, if I'll tell you, he's an awesome attorney. He's out of Lytle, works in Houston now. If it gets to that point, attorneys is a good option, but it's the long game, right? How much energy do people really want to put in this? Some people are just like, you know what?
Throw their hands up.
Yeah, I'm not messing with this. And that's also part of the insurance company strategy. Mm-hmm. They know most people are just going to be like, you know what? I'll just pay for it. Let's move on to something else. I want to live my life and not worry about this stupid roof. So they know that. There is so many games that they'll play, and that's where the insurance companies will pin us against each other. They make us seem like, oh, what are you doing? This has taken 3 months. It's been 6 months. It's been 9 months, Andrew. I understand, but this is the game they're playing. They're punting the ball at every step. Now, just like, again, we're not attorneys by any means. We're not claiming to be one. But every time you send in paperwork to an insurance company, they have X amount of time to respond to that. And they know how much time they have to respond to that, and they take every minute of it to respond, and they'll drag it out. Now, again, just want to be really clear. It's not a blanket statement against every carrier. I have a lot of friends who are carriers. I have a lot of friends who are adjusters. But there is a big problem developing here.
Yeah, and my goal wasn't to paint with a broad brush, other than to say, look, I think the reality is it's truly an adversarial type situation. Now, it may be hardcore, softcore, whatever, but there's an element of adversary there.
It is. And again, it's getting worse. There's going to be a point in time here, I think, within the next 5 years-ish, I don't think a typical homeowner's policy is even going to cover your roof anymore. It's going to be like flood insurance where you have to have a separate policy. It's just not going to cover roofs anymore because remember we talked about your deductibles used to be $500. Now they're 1%, 2%, whatever. So as they raise those deductibles up, they're also starting out they're not starting, but they're becoming more and more popular, I guess you could say. They're called ACV policies, and they stand for actual cash value. Mm-hmm. So basically what that means is that let's say you have a 20-year shingle, let's use even numbers, and it's 10 years old. So the roof is now going to be depreciated by 50%, okay? So let's say it's a $20,000 roof. That means insurance company is going to pay you $10,000 to replace the roof, even though it's a $20,000 roof. Well, you have a 1% deductible. They're going to take out $5,000. So you have $5,000 to replace a $20,000 roof. So they have taken off they have taken off $10,000 of the $15,000 that they're responsible for you. So by lowering their coverage and raising deductibles, they're shrinking how much money that they actually pay you while raising premiums at the same time. That's what's happening right now.
Yeah, they're trying to recoup their money because they've lost a lot too.
Sure.
But all right, well, we definitely are out of time, Andrew. If folks want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Easy. Call us. Our main line is 210-246-3931. Our website is www.primeseamless.com. There's form submissions you can fill out on there if you're just looking for an inspection or if you're looking to have an estimate done. We do them all complimentary. There's no charge for any estimates or any unless there's a few small circumstances where we do need to charge, and it's real in-depth. Like if we got to start removing some stuff, we do charge for those estimates. But basic estimates, all visual, those are all free and complimentary. So phone or email or website, we'd love to come out and look at your home.
Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate that. It was a good conversation. I enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. It was awesome.
All right, as we wrap up the show, quick reminder, check out our latest podcast and catch video versions of the show anytime by visiting our website at satalkradio.com. Hopefully my voice will be back next week. Until then, have a great week. We'll see you on the next one.